Ladies and gentlemen, this is the leg kick. To play us out, what does that mean? To Bill O'Reilly.
You keep trying that joke and it never works for you, eh?
You know why? You must have an IQ of at least 60 or higher in order to understand it. Fortunately, I have an IQ of 61. Meaning I'm not very intelligent.
Alrighty.
This is the Leg Kick Podcast. We are previewing UFC Overeem versus Sakai.
Why?
Why? Well, in a minute, if you guys will, because this card is not exactly, it's not voluptuous like UFC 254 or anything. But
oh my God, have you seen that card? Oh my Lord.
Oh man, card. It's nice. It's nice. It may be
UFC 254. This thing might be the best main card I've seen, at least from a hardcore perspective, I've seen in my life. You
know what I had to do, Mike? When I saw that card, I looked at it. I'm like, when at a UFC event, when they're looking at the different fights and they show you all the different main events for the next couple months coming up, I had to do a double take to make sure it wasn't that. I'm like, wait, is this a bunch of different main events? What's going on here? Oh no, this is a main card. Ooh.
Yeah, no. Wait, did you say UFC 253?
Four.
Oh, 254.
Khabib versus Gaethje, Poirier, Ferguson. Then we've got, help me out here, Mike.
I think it's Cannonier Whitaker.
Whitaker. Oh, spicy.
And then I know Makhachev and Dos Anjos is like to start.
I don't even think that's on the main card. There's a couple other ones on the main card. There's a heavyweight fight. It's spicy. It's good.
Yeah, no, this is
I think Lewis versus Blades is on the prelims or something like that.
No way.
I've heard.
No way.
It's insane.
I mean, Derek Lewis's level of skill.
This is not what we're here to talk about, but what I don't like is the fact that they're stacking like this card to the brim, basically with main event like fights, but some of these fight nights are just nuts. Like the one in in a couple of weeks that used to be like what's his name, the dude that just pulled out for COVID.
Glover.
Yeah, Glover Teixeira versus.
And now we've got Angela Hill versus the Karate Hottie as a main event.
Yo, shout out to those women, but man, that's a main event.
Yeah, honestly.
Yo, how many fights has Angela Hill fought? Is it 7?
A lot.
She's a very active fighter.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Hey, I wanted to touch on something because the depth or lack thereof of this upcoming card. I wanted to have a little spicy take in lieu of Jeremy today. So if you want, I can lead with that. We can rope these fans into our awful preview of a not substantial card. So I was thinking about this the other day for whatever reason. You guys remember Husimar Palhares?
Yeah.
Sure.
The dirty man who keeps holding on to leg locks like 80 seconds too long.
Well, I wanted to defend Palhares. Okay.
Why do you always do this? You do this behind the scenes all the time.
It's because of leg locks. It's just because of leg locks. That's it.
Hear me out. I can intellectualize this, and I know it's I'm years too late to the scene. I'm Palhares' lawyer here to make a case for him 5 years after he actually needs it. So, my thinking is, for whatever reason, number one, I think Palhares, because of the lack of the language barrier, isn't able to properly articulate this to the English-speaking public, right? And the media and the UFC organization as a whole, and defend himself this way. I think now, guys, tell me if you've ever had this happen to you. You're rolling, you're on a heel hook, let's go with heel hook. And you're pretty sure you can get it if you crank a little harder, but the other person's not tapping, so they end up just escaping. Has that happened to you before?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, given that, I think Palhares' action is justified, and I'll tell you why. As a grappler, especially a leg locker, we're using the tools that are available to us, right? Shut up, who's ever interrupting this podcast. The tools that are available to us are dangerous weapons. Now, I don't expect a striker to go out there and say, you know what, just in case, I'm going to throw this overhand at 50%, to see if it lands. I'm going to take some stank off of it because I don't want to give you some kind of permanent damage.
Yeah,
right?
but that's the argument that people make against
hold
Paul
on.
Harris, though.
hold on. Here's where I think there's hypocrisy, because is it a bit sociopathic what Paul Harris does holding onto a leg lock for too long? Sure. How many times have you seen somebody knock somebody out unconscious? Clearly they're out, and then the other fighter jumps on top of them and lands another 6, 7 unanswered strikes, and right on a clearly unconscious opponent. Now, the only thing that we get from that is some awkward, uncomfortable commentary about Joe Rogan claiming those strikes to be academic, and that's about it. We move on, even though those consequences are far more severe than a late heel hook. So I think as a grappler, we've got to use the tools available to us to their greatest effect, right?
Okay, but not to
really
Paul
well
Harris was literally holding, okay, the difference is the ref comes in and stops the fight, right? So the ref comes in, he walks in and he stops the fight after 5, 6, 7 punches too late. Now, look, should a fighter, another person who respects another human being, stop after he's clearly knocked the guy out and everyone else can see it and he can see it? Yeah, but the ref does not come in to stop it. The difference is the ref has to practically rip Paul Harris off of a Jake Shield or somebody else to get Paul Harris off.
I agree with Mike.
Now, I thought about that.
You'll see highlights of a ref literally trying to pull Paul Harris off of him.
Have you not seen highlights of the exact same thing with strikers? For instance, Dan Henderson, Michael Bisping.
That's exactly
I can think of a ton of examples where a fighter's clearly unconscious and the other fighter's landing hammer fist after hammer fist after hammer fist while their nervous system is just jolting them. They're practically dead, and the referee has to come in and drag them off. And there's no consequences for that.
Let's not say there's
not
no
like Paul
consequences.
Harris. It's a different thing.
No.
Okay.
What do you mean not like Paul Harris? You've never seen that.
Paul Harris is literally being slapped on and pulled off of a poor guy's leg.
Yeah, I mean,
that's because that's so different from
the one
repeatedly
thing I would say,
hammer fisting a guy that's about as conscious as a heavy
look,
while the referee's pulling you off. Have you not seen strikes landed as a
either,
referee
but
is wrapping his body around another fighter? Yes or no?
Yeah, but that's different though.
How? Because you're uncomfortable with leg locks.
Let me explain it like this to you, because I think the problem is you're thinking of these things as, if a guy does this and a guy does this, they're both the same, and therefore it's not the same in the sense that there's degrees, and it's not that yes or no. There is gray, and
sure. There's gray.
And past the line for a guy like Paul Harris.
It's not even just about the gray.
And brain trauma is far worse. Is far worse than having someone's knee ripped on.
Well, for me, it's this simple. The fight is over once the ref steps in, period. So if the ref doesn't step in and your opponent is on the floor in a mixed martial arts fight, and regardless of anything, regardless of whether you think you knocked him out or whether you think he might just be playing around and, baiting you in, as some people, what's that guy's name? Ian Kudalaba.
Oh, yeah, the one time that happened? Okay, go on.
No, but it's not the one time that happens all the time.
Why? Because Dan Hardy showed you 3 examples?
Hilarious.
I saw that
People
video.
People are knocked down all the time and do comebacks. That's not a.
Listen. A lot of these Paul Harris examples, I agree with everything that you said. You've got to keep fighting till the ref stops in. So if my opponent's tapping, I'm going to keep ripping on his knee until the ref stops in. Reason being is, hold on.
Because that's another condition. No,
hold on. Reason being is, let me finish. There's plenty of Brazilian taps, as they call them, where a fighter kind of half taps and then keeps fighting afterwards. Chael Sonnen tried to do it to Anderson Silva. Akira Kurosani did it to Dustin Neese. It's,
Chael never tapped. But
my mistake. The God King Chael is still undefeated. But no, in all seriousness, if somebody taps, that doesn't mean anything to me because the victory could be taken away from me unjustly.
But that's not what I'm saying.
Same thing with an unconscious. And most of Paul Harris's fights, he stopped when the referee comes to pull him off. It's just as the fighter's tapping, he's continuing to rip on that knee.
We both know the 1 or 2 examples that we're talking about, which caused him to be pretty much blacklisted from the UFC.
Yeah.
It's not the ones where he's let go and it's kind of a gray area. He was well over. Yeah. The fight was over and he was.
And the ref is literally trying to rip the two.
Come on.
Sure.
I see where you're coming from. I see where you're coming from in terms of, is that much worse than a fighter who knows somebody's passed out, but yet they keep hitting him. That's an interesting argument that we as MMA fans need to think about. But in terms of like on a case by case basis, which one is more likely? As a grappler, you yourself know that. Wait, hold on. But as a grappler, you yourself know how important control is and how important staying calm during grappling is. So, as a seasoned grappler, if you feel somebody tapping on you, the fight is done.
Not in the context of a mixed martial arts fight, for reasons that I mentioned before, as far as Brazilian taps being one, right? The ref might not see the tap, and when somebody signs up to fight me, they're consenting to have the life squeezed out of their body or one of their limbs broken. That's just how it is. And I can show you plenty of examples. I don't have them offhand, but I can show you plenty of examples of a referee clutching onto a body lock on a fighter as said fighter ground and pounds his unconscious opponent, and the referee's only barely able to drag him off, and then he stops. That happens constantly. I'm not saying one or the other is right. I'm saying let's have a clear delineation for what is allowed and what is not allowed.
Okay, I'll end with this. I'm pretty sure. Sorry, go ahead.
Go on, Michael. Actually,
I can pull up examples right now if you guys want.
Look, I'll say this. It's not just a grappling example. There have been examples of guys who have gone well after the stoppage and have been blackballed for striking as well. And that's where I parallel Palhares with.
Give me an example.
Those gentlemen.
Give me an example.
I can't remember, like, not offhand
it's
right
like
now.
It's like hitting somebody
outside the bell. There's literally top 10 lists made of it. There's a literal top 10 list of MMA on point talking about guys who have been blackballed, and they'll talk about, and it's literally, it's striking, and Palhares is on that list as well. And I think those are the guys you have to parallel with. I was
going to say this.
Out of curiosity, let me take a look, because I'm out of good faith. I want to consider your argument, but continue talking. Sorry, David.
I was just going to say, like, it's like hitting someone out after the bell, for example. It's just within the allotted rules or the allotted time. Within the allotted time, there's a set of rules, and one of the rules is if a referee jumps in, or if if a referee jumps in, then the fight is over. Now, one of the other rules is that you have to defend yourself at all times, and if you're failing to do that, then technically the fight is over. But the only person who can make that decision is either the corner or the ref at the end of the day, or the fighter.
Only the corner or the ref.
Or the fighter, and the way the fighter can do that is by tapping or verbally submitting, or verbally. What's the word?
See, that's the thing. If Palhares is still holding on after the tap and the ref hasn't come in yet, that's not my issue. My issue is that the ref is literally on him, and that's where I parallel a lot of these other guys who've been disqualified. I don't have the guys offhand, and it's an interesting conversation that we can have for another time because we still have to preview this card. But
I think at least the first three fights, but I think my opinion still stands the same. I can't find that MMA. I was just looking for that MMA on point video and I can't find it. But I think my argument is not so much that the times that the referee is ripping Palhares off of his opponents is necessarily 100% justified, but I'm saying it's the exact same scenario but with strikes is done repeatedly, and for whatever reason we're just keen to turn a blind eye to it and forget that exists. It's literally every single card where something like this happens.
Yeah, what I will agree with you on is that because striking is so dynamic, we tend to give a lot more rope when it happens with striking than it does with grappling. With that being said, I don't think it's a clear 100% of the time, because it does happen.
It happens every card though. Every card, man.
I wouldn't say every card, but it does happen pretty frequently.
Because we're talking, look,
I think it's so normal.
Are in that gray area that we talked about, Stefano. Most of them are in that gray area where it's one or two shots and the person is kind of there but not really there. Rarely is the person flat out cold and somebody's just sitting
on them as the ref has to pull them off.
I'm gonna point this out because every time I see it to you guys from now on, because I think you just don't realize it because it's so normalized. I think it's such an afterthought.
I'm talking. Ref is on him. Ref is doing the trying to wave him off, and he's pulling like he does to Palhares, where Palhares is literally holding on to a heel hook, and Palhares is holding on as a ref is trying to break his grip. I'm talking that.
Next time we're on it, I'll make a list because I can.
Please make a list.
I'm gonna make a list and I'm gonna show you guys because I think it's a lot more common than you're assuming.
I believe it is more common than we
I
are
believe.
assuming. I believe you.
I
And
see
overlooked.
the point. What I'm just trying to
I
say
do
is
think
I'm not talking the guy gets unconscious and 4 shots are rained in and the ref hasn't gone to view yet.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about, and
okay.
I still think it's more common than you think. But I'll
Okay.
pull it up. Oh my God, MMA on Point has some stupid content.
Yeah.
Oh jeez.
Yeah, but we love them.
Is John
They're gonna give us
Jones
money.
is John Jones MMA's Heisenberg? Like, shut up.
Yeah, I know.
Shut up.
Did Tommy Tohold make that video? I like Tommy.
I don't know, but
I feel like if we get to that point where we're struggling for content like that, I need you, Stefano, to pull a bullet in me and Michael's head.
For the record,
listen, dude, I'll put a bullet in my own head first, and then you. How's that?
For the record, I did make a video on Valerie Laruda, so it's not like.
Listen, I'm not saying. Mike, I call you out on your cringe frequently, man. Come on, we all know this. Mike is the king. Mike is the Henry Cejudo of this podcast, not based on wrestling.
For
ability,
real,
strictly
though. For real.
It was but I think a lot of people missed the point on that video because they're like, "Oh, I love Valerie Laruda." It's like, no. This is a video about her marketing, the way they market her. This is not, you know, like this is not a look at her ass video. No, it's not like that at all.
Sure, it's not.
If there is a look at her ass video out there, I'd love to see it.
Yeah. Okay, all right. So we want to talk about because I can only be here for a little bit. So talk about some of these fights.
Let's pull up this card.
I'm gonna go bottom up, down. I mean,
I don't think we, as much as I'm excited for Thiago Moises and Brian Kelleher.
Yeah.
I don't know too much about their opponents, so just I guess a quick mention that would be enough for those as far as Thiago Moises coming off that ankle lock of Michael Johnson.
Jalen Turner is actually pretty interesting. He is that like super long guy. I think he fought.
I was going to say 155.
Yeah, he fought Felder versus Hooker card, and he fought UFC 236 and 234. So he's been pretty active.
Interesting. Okay, based on that, I'll keep an eye on that. And then Brendan Kelleher, who's been super active during this quarantine, phenomenal, very decent switch hitter, I'll say that. And a rapper.
That the guy who used to write for the Score, if I'm not mistaken, or
I'm not sure. I know he raps occasionally.
Oh yeah, he's a soccer player. Yeah, I'm thinking of the same one. He just lost. He's coming off a loss, if I'm not mistaken.
He lost to the gentleman whose brother passed away, Cody Stamann.
Yeah, but he's a good fighter though, and he's got great kicks.
Great kicks, switches stance as well. I don't know anything about his opponent. Maybe looks like a David
Kevin
It might be one of those, and maybe that's a conversation for another time in terms of the mismatches. I don't want to say mismatch, but some of the unequal.
Call it as it is.
In fairness, though, I will say the UFC does a lot better job of getting guys they think will be competitive against each other than, like, let's say a ONE FC or a Bellator. Like, Bellator is just flat out, like, they're unapologetically, like, matching up scrubs with Michael Venom Page. Like the
3-1 Richard Keeley.
Yeah. God bless him. He's from SPG, but like at least with the UFC, they legitimately think this guy could upset. Like who saw Herbert Burns?
Normally I'll say this.
I didn't think I thought Herbert Burns was gonna walk in there and give Pineda the gears, and Pineda, to everyone's shock, beat the brakes off that kid. So to the UFC's credit, and who can forget Lando Vernada versus Tony Ferguson, right? So
or even last week's card, what was that random?
The one who fought Lamas. Yeah,
that was a pretty competitive fight.
So the UFC does do things like they think, okay, there's a snowball's chance here, right? Like to their credit.
If I was a fighter, I would be in Nevada right now, just waiting for that call. Because no disrespect, it seems like they're calling anybody who has.
That's the thing. This is I agree with Mike, and let's give credit where credit's due. I'm very critical of the UFC usually, but one thing they do generally do a good job is that they rarely make squash matches, and I feel like this is pandemic matchmaking for the most part. They're just to save the card, they're calling up whoever they can, right?
Yeah.
But Bellator at the best of times is putting 3-1 Richard Keeley against Michael Venom Page, who had just come off the fight with why do I always forget this guy's name?
Douglas Lima.
Douglas Lima.
Oh my goodness.
One of the best in the world.
One of the best in the world. Who's fighting? I learned Gegard Mousasi for the middleweight title coming up. So.
Interesting.
And then John Fitch is fighting Oh, quick fight announcement, I guess. John Fitch is going to be fighting Neiman Gracie, so that's going to be exciting.
I thought Neiman Gracie was in UFC, or am I
No,
thinking of
you're
the wrong
thinking of
Gracie?
the other one. You're thinking of the other one.
You think of Kron. Neiman's 170.
Okay, yeah.
So next on this card.
Okay, just quickly before we talk about the next fight, I wanted to just quickly talk about Kudalaba versus, I think it was supposed to be on this card if I'm not mistaken.
Versus
No,
Ankalaev? Oh, yeah. And Kutalaba tested positive for the second time.
Twice!
That's supposed to be medically impossible. So it looks like some.
He got it again.
That's scary because I think this is the first case ever of somebody getting COVID twice.
No, you know what probably happened?
It's probably another strain of COVID.
No, you know what probably happened?
What?
He probably had COVID and was being deceptive in like how bad he had it.
But imagine you're Ankalaev though. Like I would be fuming right now.
Yeah.
I've done 2 training camps and you canceled twice after I already beat you once, and even if it was contentious, like you've been like a dick about it the entire time, and now you're saying that we can't even fight. So who's he gonna fight? How's he gonna make his money?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I hope he still gets his
pay.
His pay, yeah, at least his show money, which I think it's stupid that the UFC divides it into show and win money. But what are you gonna do?
I mean,
it's a broken system.
This is what you get for having no union. And also, it's not even man. He won't get that show money, period. Because even like the last time it happened with what are those 2 black guys that fought? Oh man, I can't remember.
I know who you're talking
Kevin
about.
Holland. And somebody else. I can't remember the other guy.
Oh yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. Like Kevin Holland didn't
faded.
get his show money. Yeah, no.
Yeah, exactly. He didn't get show money. I mean, he got to fight like the next week or something like that. But yeah, still, like there has to be some kind of protection for that, I feel.
The one thing that the UFC does do is if you're under contract, they're obligated to provide you with 3 fights a year. So as long as you're not turning down fights, they will pay you for 3 fights a year. I learned.
Imagine some of the fights they must. Once again, we can have a deeper conversation about nasty and nefarious contract practices and stuff. But imagine, you're lower cut. You just signed. Let's say you won the Ultimate Fighter. Your first fight is against somebody in your division or in your like realm kind of ish. Then you have a fight against, let's say, Kudalaba, and he turns it down. Or sorry, not even turns it down. It falls through, and then the next 2 fights they offer you are against absolute killers. Like, obviously, as a fighter, you back yourself, but I can see why a lot of fighters don't fight for like 1-2 years or something.
Yeah. Turning down matchups should be normalized. Like if they just give you some stupid matchup off the hop, like why shouldn't you have the right to negotiate? Right, and secure yourself the proper road to the top. If you can believe that one day you can be the best in the world, why would you just take a matchup when it's not the right time? Right, it's just playing irresponsibly with your career.
For sure.
But again, it's so heavily like our economy, it's skewed so heavily in capital's favor as opposed to labor. So.
And then again, we also complain when people, pick their fights. And I personally appreciate when a fighter is like, I'll fight anybody, as opposed to like, let me make sure that I'm doing the proper path. Even though it might be better for a lot of fighters, I appreciate even matchups that don't make sense, where it's like, why are these 2 fighting? Like, you're both highly ranked, you both like are title contenders. Just wait and fight somebody else. But yeah.
Fighters, don't listen to what David just said. Think of yourself like a general, not a soldier.
Agreed.
No, but like what? There is a secret middle ground.
There is a favorable engagements only. What's that, Mike?
There is a middle ground though. Like there is a take 4 months, take 5 months, take 6 months, build your game, get some skills, right? Add to yourself, and then pick a fight. Like
disagree, Michael. I think like when you reach a certain level, like you have to know what you're coming up against.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
If you like, especially at like the highest level, if you just are like, hey, I'm gonna fight. Let's say you're like a striker, and I'm just gonna fight the best grappler in the world. I don't care who it is. Like, bring any grappler. You're gonna have a long time.
No, I'm saying. What I'm saying though.
Yeah. Go on. Sorry, Mike.
So no, I'm not saying, hey, be irresponsible, pick any matchup. What I am saying though is, you don't have to be Donald Cerrone, but at the same time, you don't have to be Santiago Ponzinibbio. There is a middle ground.
Free Ponzinibbio, man.
free my ninja Ponzinibbio.
Free Santiago. Free Santi.
What I will say is I agree with Mike because there's a misconception of like fighters, if this fighter beats this fighter, he must be better. And there's a gradient throughout the division of good, better, best. But it's not necessarily the case. Sometimes, we hear it endlessly. Styles make fights. There's a weakness or vulnerability in one person's style that may lead them to beat another person, but not another. For example, Anderson Silva in his prime was an expert at beating wrestlers as a counter striker, right? Laying back, picking his shots, and countering your pathetic attempts at swinging at him. Now, someone like Michael Bisping, turns out, regardless of what you think about that fight, it was very close. And even if you don't think that he necessarily beat Anderson Silva, which I happen to.
I do.
Which I do.
Hold think on. Bisping won.
Yeah, agree. Perfect. I'm glad we're all in agreement.
No, hold on. I think Bisping lost, but whatever.
What?
Okay, you're... Well... Hold on. I'm not here to argue whether he lost or won. All I'm trying to say is that Bisping, who stylistically didn't match up well against wrestlers like your Chael Sonnens, like your Dan Hendersons, right, was unable to make it to Anderson Silva. So he would have given Anderson Silva more of a stylistic challenge than, let's say, a Damian Maia.
Yeah, I love Michael Bisping. He might be, at least my top 5 favorite fighters of all time. But
says the guy who's only seen the George St. Pierre fight.
What? I watched the
started watching MMA in 2015.
This guy, man, in the UK, he was, first of all, I was living in the UK at the time. He was the only representative, him and what's that guy's name? Pearson? Ross Pearson. Yeah. Like those were like the 2 big guys in MMA from the UK. So, I was always a fan. What I will say though.
Go on. I said I'm just trying to gatekeep. Go on.
What I will say though is I don't think while I respect that, I think Anderson Silva, by the time he fought Michael Bisping, was already, with all due respect, on the decline. And I think that even if Bisping had the favorable matchups to fight prime Silva, I'm not sure if he had enough in the tank. But I hear your argument.
But that's not even my point, right? No, I'm just saying clearly there were some things in Mike, whether he would have won or not in Anderson Silva's prime's irrelevant. There's aspects of his style that, like,
for sure,
feinting and faking and having a scientific jab and, right, refusing to be baited by Anderson Silva, things in his style that played favorably for him. And I can imagine that maybe like TJ Dillashaw facing Renan Barao off of a loss to a Sun Tzu, right? While he lost to a Sun Tzu and wasn't the right style to beat a Sun Tzu, he was the right style to Barao. That's all I'm saying.
No, I hear you. No, it makes sense.
Are we talking about this card yet?
Yeah, no, I was going to say, what do we make of this OSP versus Menenfield fight? Because I just look at Menenfield's record, and he's coming off a loss, I guess, to Devin Clark.
Did you see that one?
It was a good fight. I was really impressed with Clark.
Man, yeah, hats off to Devin Clark for that one. That was a lot of fun. He weathered that early storm of Menenfield and then took control, punching in and out of clinches, and that's basically all I remember from it. But I was impressed with Devin Clark.
I'll have to go back. It was like early prelims too. But I noticed on his record he has a win over Paul Craig, Scottish gentleman, wicked grappler, like seriously really good.
Rare to see a good guard nowadays in the heavier divisions.
From Scotland, like what?
Submitted.
They don't even do jiu-jitsu in Scotland. What?
Submitted Ankalaev as well.
Yeah.
He's Ankalaev's lone loss.
Man, he's good. So shouts out to Menenfield. He must be.
And you know the thing is that Clark is not like not Clark. The Craig is not afraid to bait someone in the guard and lose a round just to work his guard. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's not afraid to, like, go for it. I will say in Menenfield's case, though, for whatever reason against Clark, he didn't have the right stylistic approach or tactics like he did against Craig, where against Craig it was kind of don't get too deep into those clinch exchanges. Let your boxing take control, and if he tries to grab you, use your movement. Whereas with Clark, he was a little more flat-footed and got beat off the punch a little bit every time those exits happened.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think Clark is definitely a bit more of a physical presence than Craig. And I think, Craig showed a bit of a desperation to get it to the mat, whereas Clark was intelligent in that he was able to punch out of takedown attempts, right? Not expend himself in failed attempts to to get double legs or whatnot, and was just able to wear on him and make a Menifield fight a pace at which he gassed and wasn't able to carry it in the longer rounds. Now, whether Menifield has fixed that or not, who's to say? But I don't think that OSP is going to be the guy to push a pace on him.
That's my thing.
Yeah.
My thing, right. And I think we said this in the last preview too.
What do you guys make of OSP's career? Because from a layman's perspective, he clearly has a lot of talent, and so much so, and especially when it comes to grappling, which is surprising because I don't think he has a background in grappling. I think he came in more of as a striker, with just really athletic striker. To my knowledge, anyway. So my question to you is like, what do you make of his career? Because he was fighting for, the title.
I always say
years
this.
Ago.
It's weird. I always say this. When he was coming up, there was at least a very vocal minority to a majority of people who thought, he fixed a couple things. Like a lot of people looked at him like kind of like how people looked at Tyron Woodley early, where it's like he fixes this, and then all of a sudden he could be interesting, and then he just never really panned out because he had that Von Flute choke finish early in his career, and he had a couple like interesting wins, in Top Control, and obviously everyone was talking about how good of a striker he is, low volume, but was really good off the counter, explosive. So a lot of people like had these kind of like, okay, this guy could be good kind of thing, and it just never panned out. And now he's kind of obviously on the decline a bit. So I would say he's a bit of a bust, but it's not like in MMA it's weird to say because it's not being a bust in MMA is not like basketball where it's like, oh, guys, the UFC will give you every opportunity and will throw everything at it to make sure that you become successful. Right?
Well, I don't know. I'm not a big
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm not a big OSP fan, to be honest. I think we've kind of seen the limits of his potential. He just refuses to throw in combination, and it's maddening. He's just single strikes. That's it. He's for a guy that has the dexterity to throw up a quick left head kick as a light heavyweight, clearly can throw with speed, at least in the early rounds, but he's just refused to do anything particularly tricky or, have any particularly creative setups, throw in combination. It's just he's been stagnant. He's a guy who's just, his style consists of a few weird tricks, a left head kick and a Von Flue choke. Mm-hmm. And I hope Menifield can win because he has a larger upside in my view, and I think it's an exciting time for light heavyweights.
Yeah. Quick question, just because I love comparisons. Who do you think has had a better career, OSP or Rumble Johnson?
Rumble.
Okay. All right. Just checking.
Rumble, in the fact that, obviously he's come a lot closer as far as having. They both had title shots.
They both have title shots.
I think Rumble definitely captured the imagination of MMA fans a lot more. In that, if Rumble were to come back tomorrow, nobody would have a problem booking him in a title shot, right? He's exciting.
Though?
Because there was a.
I'm not saying it's logical. I'm not saying I agree
fights.
with it, but he's exciting. He produces finishes.
5-6 fights though when he they call it the anti-wrestling Rumble, right? And people still believe to this day that was the greatest force to ever step into a UFC cage. Ever. Like there are people who will argue blue in the face on Reddit that was probably the best force. He starched Augustus. He beat
Bader.
Jimmy Manuwa, brakes off Manuwa. Sorry? Bader beat the brakes off of Bader. Like the names he was getting. Glover. And it was just on the simple fact that he hit you 3-4 times with some power shots, could wrestle his way could anti-wrestle his way at anything. But for whatever reason he faced Daniel Cormier, and it
wrestling
just went
pressure breaks you.
Yeah.
Hey, did I tell you I met him?
Yeah, you did.
Have I told you my funny Rumble story, David?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so I met him on 2 separate occasions. The first time I'm training at the previous gym I was at, and me and my boy Max Lee, shout out to Miserable Max Lee, we're just wrestling in the back long after everyone's gone, after this place is closed up. and then I see this giant shadow moving into the washroom,
Oh yeah,
which
you
is
did this.
oh,
Yeah.
there's a second part that I think I forgot to tell, but like he moves it. I'm like, what the hell is that? And then our coach comes out and he's like, hey Max, I bet you $2,000 you can't tap whoever walks out of that washroom. Max is like, yeah, you're on. I'm confident in my jiu-jitsu. Like, let's go. And then out of the washroom walks Anthony Rumble Johnson. Like, this man is shaped like a piece of toast, as wide as he is tall. Like, it's insane. And then he goes upstairs, starts, obviously Max chose not to roll with him, goes upstairs, starts hitting pads, and it sounds like somebody is shooting a shotgun upstairs. Just this I didn't know that it could make that sound before. You know, I talked to him for a little bit, took a picture with him. I didn't want to bother him too much because he was cutting weight. It was before the Cormier fight, right? He was just, there was a press conference in Toronto, so he came up in Toronto and was hitting pads with my coach at the time. And I saw him a couple weeks later because my friend's like, hey, there's an autograph signing with Rumble in like this store. Do you want to go? And I'm like, yeah, what the hell? Okay, let's go. You know, I've met him before. I'd like to meet him again. So I saw him there, and I'm like, hey, Anthony, you remember me? And he's like, oh, I'm like from X Gym, and he's like, oh yeah, you know, I was hitting pads with Evan, like blah blah blah. How is he? I'm like, oh, he's good. And then he goes to sign a picture for me, and he's like, what's your name? He's like, I'm like, oh, Stefano. And then he asked my friend, oh, what's your name? Roman. He's like, he looks at us after hearing our names. He's like, man, y'all need some normal shit.
Hilarious.
Like, thanks, Anthony Johnson.
Yeah, really.
So yeah, sorry about that. This card's so boring that.
No,
Yeah,
that's
we-
okay.
we-
Just
we
one last
fear-
quick fact about OSB. He actually, graduated with a degree in sociology. So shout out to him. I'm gonna be rooting for him.
Education is key.
Yeah. So yeah.
Here we're not necessarily elitist at the Late Kick Podcast, but we are intellectually elitist. So get that paper.
All right. Main
Pay-per-view,
event,
all right.
Augusto Sakai, Alistair Overeem.
Can I just say that I know I shouldn't be because I do want him to retire, but I'm a big huge Overeem fan, and I am extremely excited every time he fights, regardless of how much trauma he's doing.
Okay, so like I was thinking about it, like
He's getting better.
Huh?
He's getting better. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, see, that was my thing. Okay, so if someone kind of posed the question to me, is that like, why hasn't Alistair Overeem retired? Now I'm like, because you can legitimately make a case that he's probably the second or third most complete fighter in this division. It's just his chin.
No,
can't-
that's what I was saying. I feel like he is getting better in terms of the game of MMA. It seems like he's making a lot smarter decisions in his fights. I just think, like, physically, he's just nowhere near where he used to be. And
But even he's always had a bad chin, though. That's the thing. Like, it's
Not
just,
always.
not always like this. I mean, he fought in, like, what K1 or whatever? Like,
K1, Pride, Strikeforce.
Okay,
Mike, I
not
rewatched
like,
his
it's
old
never
career
been like
recently.
swift gust of wind will knock him out. No, but it's been like his chin has usually been the reason why he's lost. Like if we think about it, like
Well, let's go back because the man's been fighting since 1999. Like
Yeah.
let's go back and look through his career. I recently watched 2 of his Pride fights just because I was curious, right? And I'm a big Pride Never
remember when
Die
he was
fan.
called the Demolition Man?
He
Oh,
should still be, man. Oh my god! And he used to walk in with a sledgehammer.
Yeah.
I watched the Shogun Hua fight. That was a war, and he took a hellacious amount of punishment, an unreasonable amount from Mount just constantly rolling and bucking and moving, and
Can we
ended up
just
getting.
acknowledge how crazy that is that Overeem fought Shogun. Like, they're not even the same size. Like,
at the
No.
time, before pre-steroids, Overeem, they
You got
were
to see what
pretty
he looked
close.
like. You got to see what he looked like, David. Overeem at the time, he looked like a beanpole. He was like a tall, skinny, like
oh, that's true.
6'5" light heavyweight. It was crazy, but
Sorry, go on.
Yeah,
Sorry. to
yeah.
interrupt.
I wanted to say one thing about Overeem that I'm excited about is if you watch through his old Pride career, he was kind of, I don't want to say more of a grappler, but he leaned very, very heavily on his grappling, and he's always had great wrestling. He's had creative jiu-jitsu, man. His fight against Hirotaga.
His wrestling's not technical, but like he does.
No,
these
it is.
tricks.
It's
He does
super
these
technical.
tricks.
Dude, watch his old Pride career. From a
No,
body
no.
lock, he's a wizard.
No, but see, this is the thing with his, like, he never really, like, like, when you're teaching, like, if you're a wrestling coach, you're teaching wrestling, right? That's not Overeem doesn't do a lot of, like, hey, I'm gonna, from outside hit you with a single leg technically. I'm not gonna hit you with a double. But he does these things. Once he gets a hold of you, he does these little counter wrestling tricks on you, like, and it's on full display against Rosenstruik actually. Where
Yeah,
he
no,
You know
I
what?
think that's a good.
I think he doesn't have that traditional shoot in for a single leg
Yeah.
or double leg, but he's got some Greco, man. He's got some
Especially off the
Greco.
lock for sure. I agree. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's super technical.
and the Walt Harris fight that I watched the other day, the transition he used to survive that beating with the he attacked single leg X guard for a leg lock, turned for a heel hook, and then as Walt Harris goes to flee, lets go of it and attacks a
and
double
gets
leg.
that, yeah.
And the peek out, dude, who's doing that at heavyweight? Who's attacking single leg X guard and then taking advantage of a quick scramble to a double leg and then hitting a peek out? That kind of level, his scrambling has always been gorgeous. I watched him against Hiratonov the other day. He had Hiratonov's back, and Hiratonov was just about to shake him off the top. He slides off the top of back into a front headlock position and starts letting knees. I'm like, oh my god. Why are more people not doing this? This is beautiful.
No, but the problem, but again, like when you look at his career, like 14 of his 18 losses are by knockout, right? So it's like, you know,
That's tough
the
though. But
chin
you got
is
to
a
look at
big-
who some of these knockouts are against, like Shogun, Verdun, Nogueira.
I understand that, but like at some point, like what is stopping him from being the best? Is it his skill? Is it a skill issue? Because it's not. He had Stipe on the ropes. Right? He clearly felt a tap. No, okay, but in all seriousness,
He did have Stipe on the ropes, though. In all seriousness,
right? He had Rosenstruik. He was beating Rosenstruik for 4 minutes and 55 for 24 minutes and 55 seconds of that fight, right? You know, it's what is it stopping him? What is stopping him? It's the chin. And that's where everyone gets really skittish about betting on Overeem, because it's like he could be winning for 14 minutes and 59 seconds, but if he gets hit with a swift gust of wind, it's over. And so against Augusto Sakai, I'm like, he does everything better. He's a better striker. He's a better grappler. He's better in the clinch. He even has better leg defense and leg kicking fundamentals. But
I would say defense generally. He has better defense than Sakai.
Yeah,
defense is really good.
It's great.
Really good.
He sometimes, I find it a little weird sometimes when he balls up against the fence and intentionally lets you unload on him.
Yeah.
Not the greatest choice in small gloves, but Mike, I'm with you, man. I agree. Like everything's there. All the elements are there technically. And in some ways, Overeem kind of feels like that guy just hanging out at the rave the next day, long after the party's over. It's like, man, come on. At this point, we all love the Overeem party, but at this point, it's damaging to your health. Like,
yeah, and he's got nothing to prove too. I mean, he's already, apart from winning the championship, which I don't think he's going to do. I don't think he's going to be a champion in this division anytime soon. So apart from that, really, what is there to prove for Overeem?
I would say, in all honesty, man, like for a lot of these guys, you don't necessarily need a UFC title. I think the Strikeforce title, especially at that time, was just as prestigious. The guy's a Strikeforce champ. I'd like to see him hang it up. I've heard this brought up by Jack Slack. It's a good point. The man makes hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars every single fight. I think it's like the price of a house that he makes every single fight. So, I mean, the temptation's there as well as far as the money. It's just, as an Overeem fan, I'm so conflicted because he does cool stuff, but I would love to see him hang.
It's like we talked about CTE, but he's quick as a whip too. So it's like, at what point is it like,
but we see him in interviews, man.
Yeah.
We're not doctors. Okay. I don't think we can make that call. All we know is that brain trauma is not good, and he's been knocked out 14 times.
He's been knocked out quite a few times.
Exactly.
What I would like to see him in is Mike Tyson's exhibition tournament. I feel like that would be a good landing spot. Was that disrespectful?
David, no. I just want to say you're canceled.
Hilarious. No, but I just feel like he's a vet, and his skills are definitely. It would be nice to see his skills, but just as you said, the damage he's been taking so far is just no good.
So not to neglect the other participant in the main event here, but watching back through Augusto Sakai's fights, technically there's nothing that really worries me about him against Overeem. If I'm honest, I think on the feet he's not
good leg kick though. Good leg kick.
Decent leg kick.
Yeah.
Throws an overhand with speed. I think his real strength is working like once he gets into the clinch. He's able to push a pace in a spot where a lot of heavyweights kind of just like to
Well,
chill and fold. Yeah.
the one fight for me though that kind of made me go on him. Like I liked him, and then he faced Blagoy Ivanov,
Mm,
and I
yeah.
had Blagoy Ivanov winning, but it's like this is the again this is the walk before you can run matchup for a lot of these guys when they get into the UFC. Like, can you beat a guy who's tough? And by the end of it, like Sakai wants out. Let's just be honest. He
To be
wants
Yeah.
fair though, like you had Derek Lewis versus Blagoy, and that was I felt like Blagoy won that fight personally.
I'm going to agree with you.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, so like I don't want to make it seem like even like what was that fight against? I think we were talking about Rakic versus Uzdemir not too long ago, and we're saying how Uzdemir kind of plays the same prove how tough you are role within the division.
Ooh, hard disagree on Uzdemir. For
Really,
that one. Yeah.
really, I think
Uzdemir is a legitimate contender at this point, and he's having difficult matchups against other contenders. But
I don't know.
but I get what you're saying as far as at heavyweight there are these guys who kind of just serve the role of middle of the pack gatekeepers.
They're not gatekeepers, but they're just like they're more like, hey, this is a tough test that you actually have to wake up in the morning for, or else he'll beat you sideways.
Like an Andre Fili.
There it is. Yeah.
But yeah,
Touch-
man.
Don't do that to Andrew Healy. He
I
could
don't
be
find-
a champion one day.
I'm gonna ignore that. I don't find no
Andrew
disrespect to
Touchy Feely,
Fili.
don't do that.
Yeah, I'm not too excited for. I think the reason why I'm not particularly excited for the matchup in general, though, is I feel like if Sakai does beat Overeem, it's going to be Overeem, ends up getting caught, not based on the fact that Sakai was able to outwit him or beat him with technical skill, but he just happens to eat a shot based on the fact that it's a numbers game and eventually you're going to get hits. I don't really see any safe haven in this fight for Sakai where I can say he can comfortably lean on those areas, and exploit certain I don't see any facets of Overeem's game he can particularly exploit with his skill set. I could be biased here, but what do you guys think?
I think,
no,
for
I'm
me,
with you.
sorry, go on.
Sorry, David. Go
I was gonna say Overeem usually gets caught by unorthodox strikes or unorthodox strikers. So I agree. If it's like a technical matchup, then my money would be on Overeem. But if it becomes like a slugfest, which I don't think it will be, given Overeem's fight style nowadays, then I would go with Sakai. But honestly, like everybody here, I haven't seen too much of Sakai. He has a decent kind of run of wins right now, but there's nothing that has made me feel like he's going to be, the next guy in the division. So
Yeah.
I have to go with Overeem on this one.
Funny story. Speaking of this fight card, a friend of mine, Miserable Max Lee, who I mentioned earlier, put $100 on Alexander Romanov to beat Marcus Rogerio de Lima. So I just wanted to give a shout out to the, poor decision of the week. He described Alexander Romanov as a Curtis Blades, but Russian. And then I watched him and I'm like, I want to hold off on those comparisons, young man.
Man, shouts out Curtis Blade, though.
Shouts out to Curtis Blades. Hilarious.
I just love Curtis Blades, man. I think he's a great fighter, and he's underrated. And when he eventually goes to Bellator, the UFC fans
Eventually goes to Bellator.
For real, though, the way
hope
he's being
not.
treated by Dana, like, come on. I would leave. And yeah,
The problem with him though is not that he's a grappler, although it is kind of sort of the problem. Is that the problem with him is when you watch his fights, there tends to be a lacking of urgency.
oh, don't do that. I love Curtis Blades fights. It's so dominant, man.
No,
Like,
but even the Junior Dos Santos fight, which is technically his signature win, right? There is an urgency issue, and it's not a problem for me specifically. I'm just saying if you're a matchmaker, right, and you wanna get people excited, it's like, what's gonna get them excited, right?
Man, I don't know. I think if the UFC wanted to, they could sell Snow to. I was gonna say Eskimo, but I think that's a racially inappropriate term. Yeah, to an Inuit person. Yeah, I think you've got to go I've been saying this for years. Go the route of pride. Work with what you've got and find a way to sell it, as opposed to like,
with pride,
no, you
sometimes
have
the
to
guy
fit in
who
this
was
mold.
markets himself.
but
He called
okay.
himself the heavyweight Khabib. How do you not market that?
right?
Come on.
Guys, if
But
Pride,
like,
if
a highlight
Pride can
package
sell,
doesn't hurt. Like, I'm with you guys. Like, a highlight package wouldn't hurt. Like, do something, But
guys,
Wait,
are
you
if
saying
Pride
you
can
don't-
sell you,
okay.
if Pride can sell you Bob Sapp, we can sell the good people of the United
okay.
States.
Remember
guys,
how
what's
they
the 7-foot
remember how they
green guy
sold Bob
from
Sapp
Manchoy?
to you. Hold on.
Hilarious.
Time out. Remember how they sold Bob Sapp to you, though?
Respectfully.
Yeah, right. All those bananas, right? Okay. Yeah, okay.
All right,
That was pretty funny. Yeah, there's a Pride. Look it up, audience. There's a poster of Bob Sapp where he's literally, it's like for a fight advertisement. He's literally holding up some bananas like they're marketing him like he's an ape.
Oh,
it's
God.
Japan, so you know it's innocent, but like, come on.
Is it innocent?
I don't think they fully understand the racial implications of that.
They don't understand it, but they perpetuate it.
Yeah.
Sure. I'll give you an example. In Italy, when I was there, I think when I was like 15, 16, I was listening to the radio and they were playing rap music because it's getting bigger in Italy, and the white hosts of the show started, like, after commenting on the song, they said the N-word. I'm like, what? But like, they didn't mean it as they just don't understand the racial implications of it and the history of it, because there was never any racial slavery in Italy, right? So they're just like,
they did occupy Ethiopia, but we can talk about that on our other political podcast.
See, this is the best part of history that I always tell people is when Italy went to Ethiopia and got turned sideways. No offense, Stefano. And
listen,
they were taught a lesson.
Hey, it's a fascist government that most of the people of Italy didn't actually believe in. So I mean, I'm okay with you making fun of fascists.
Look at the treatment of black soccer players. This isn't what this podcast is about.
All right, let's end.
David, I'm gonna have to stop you right there. You're culturally appropriating pasta and Super Mario Brothers. I'm gonna have to ask you to stop.
Storico. All right.
Okay, I'm gonna be the ref for Paul Harris, guys, and then try to rip you guys off of this podcast.
Hilarious. Do you have any thoughts about the Michel Pereira fight?
He's an idiot. Done. That's.
Why do you hate him so much, man?
Because
you wouldn't.
He could be so good. He has so much potential, but he does these stupid. He does everything. Every fight does something stupid. He does something dumb.
I even have a weird take. I actually think, he's clearly very athletic. He's clearly very unorthodox, but I don't think that's what makes you a good fighter.
No,
he's still yet to show his
grappling
skills.
You know what? He's got skills. That's the thing. He's got lots of skills.
Yeah, but why do you want to take this Picasso and then make it Soviet bloc cubist art?
Picasso.
Functional and boring. Look, not every fighter's meant to be a
ceiling.
I don't care.
Yo,
not every fighter.
Diego Sanchez.
Why would you want to do that? I don't. Not every fighter's meant to be a champion. I appreciate him for what he is. Wait, hold on. I think he's fun. I appreciate him for what he is. Win, lose, or draw. Do you really want to see John Jones turn into a boring fighter who's reluctant to throw offense? I don't. I'd rather see Bones. That's just my opinion.
But it's not that he's reluctant. That's not what we're saying.
I'm saying he is what he is, and I like that he exists, and that there's so many different iterations of fighters.
I'll put it this way, Stefano.
He's a front runner. It's okay to be a front runner.
If you were his coach, you would tell him to cut it out.
Cut what out?
Cut out the theatrics. Like he's doing round-off backflips.
Well, good thing I'm not his coach and I'm a fan.
We're backflipping in the first round.
Backflip.
Really? Like, what are we
not
doing?
Even on the ring entrance, in the middle, into guard. Come on, man.
It's fun. It's entertaining. It's kooky. I kind of like it. I'm not gonna lie.
Here's the thing. I'm not saying that he can't have unorthodox things to his game. I'm not saying that he can't explode in weird ways. I'm not saying that he can't do these things with a purpose. What was it? Yair Rodriguez throws tornado.
You're gonna say Yair Rodriguez does these things with a purpose?
Sometimes
much more of a purpose.
Sometimes they can get a little hokey. But the point is I've always said it. If you get a Taekwondo guy and just say, hey, listen, throw your stuff with purpose. You know what I'm saying? Throw your stuff with purpose. It's the same kind of thing that you would want to teach, or at least kind of pull Michel Pereira to the side and be like, listen, if you're going to do the backflip, do it with purpose.
Yeah, no, there's times like he's running on the cage and there's no one there and he's just doing it for show. Like,
Yeah,
he's
like
just
You I
gassing
like
out.
it.
Oh, man.
Listen, man. Sometimes you want, to drink a fine wine. Sometimes you just want to get drunk on a bottle of Old English, right?
Oh, man.
he's,
Oh,
he's Sorry, was that racial because I said Old English and
I mean,
I know
it
it's
was
more of an
triggering.
African drink.
Yeah, exactly. Getting flashbacks, but yeah, no.
He's good, trashy, lowbrow fun, man. He's good. Just he's what the plebes. He's what the plebes and the proles go crazy for.
If he
Backflips
loses
and
this
running
fight-
off the cage and
If he loses this fight, he's gonna get cut. We'll just put it out there.
Who's he fighting? He's fighting he's fighting a Dagestani.
Imadev, who can fight? No,
I don't know anything about Imadev.
I'm pretty sure I know who that is. Let me look it up.
Let's bring up his record.
It sounds like a familiar surname.
You're just saying that because he's Dagestani.
Yes. Yes.
Welterweight Dagestani. Oh, dude. He lost to the guy that this gentleman beat.
Oh, snap. Okay.
He lost to Danny Roberts. This guy's on a 2-fight losing streak to Danny Roberts and Max Griffin. Looks like he's a prospect from Fight Nights Global. But then again, we don't know anything about those fights, to be completely honest with you. So I'm going to hold my...
I'll say this, though. Like, Michel Pereira, if anybody will find a way to lose to Zalim Imadaev, it's going to be Michel Pereira. Like,
Michel Pereira is 27. And that's another thing. Like, he's clearly, like, a young dude with, like, tons of energy and just super...
So much potential. So much potential. So much.
I wouldn't say so much potential, but I would just say, like, you just need to cut it out. You need to cut it out.
Explosive striker, super sneaky good defense, good skills on the ground.
Sneaky good defense?
Mike, I think you just made that last one up. What aspect? Hold on.
Down.
Let's call Mike out on here. What aspect of his defense is sneaky good?
He's got a great slip and he's got good movement. Like, it's actually like when he's...
Yeah,
no, go watch
like in which fight?
In the regional circuit.
What?
No, seriously, go watch. Guys, we're here, we're talking, seriously, like, me, I got the conch. Go watch some of his fights in regional circuits. When he slows down, we
broke Mike.
Yeah, he's like, wait, guys, no, hear me out, seriously.
We legitimately made Mike mad. Okay, go on. All
right, when he slows down and he's not doing all that crap and he's actually like going shot for shot with people, he's really good at a pull. He's got a really great pull and he's got a really great slip, and he uses it to effect as a counter fighter. Sorry?
Like in which fight?
So in a lot of his regional circuits, I gotta pull it up. I can't remember like the certain to jump offhand, but in a lot of his regional fights, he actually kind of does it. It's pretty interesting. It's just the problem is that once he's got a guy kind of like backing up or stuff, he likes to kind of just run at him. They'll run to the side and he does that cage thing. So, but when he's like nose to nose with guys, he actually kind of like beats them shot for shot. Like, it's kind of interesting. So that's why I'm kind of saying, like, you know what, he's actually a pretty good striker.
I would hold off on analysis of him from Road FC and Fusion FC just based on strength of competition.
Fair enough.
But point taken, sure, he can do things to, I guess, temper his wildness and still be exciting.
Real Kim, by the way.
Real Kim?
Yeah, Real Kim.
Yeah, he can do things to temper, I guess, his wildness and still be exciting, I hope. But
yeah, that's pretty much the only, or the last fight that I want to talk about. We have the Viviana Araujo fight versus Montana De La Rosa.
Yeah,
okay.
Hard
Yeah.
Sajara Eubanks, is she on the card? I heard.
But she might as well be. No, that's disrespectful.
Now, point taken. I mean,
if
you're getting a title shot right off of the Ultimate Fighter, your division is dead. What else?
Yeah.
I'm just interested in the Romanov fight just because Max has $100 on it. I'm not gonna lie.
Honestly,
Andre Zor with the most porn star name in MMA.
Yeah, really. Oh man. Just quickly, this card is somehow better than next week's card.
Watterson versus Hill.
Yeah, which is crazy. The co-main for next week is Modafferi versus Andrea Lee.
Okay, hold on. Do not disrespect the name of Mox.
I like Modafferi, but she's not a co-main. Not yet.
Listen,
She's not particularly
we will not
interesting
accept that
either.
kind of slander on this podcast.
And Andrea Lee is not a particularly, like, with all due respect, like, skilled. Anyway, let me not even be disrespectful.
Entertaining, compelling.
I don't want to be disrespectful, but, like, she's
We've
an
already
athlete, you know?
we've already spewed some real disrespectful stuff on this podcast.
Oh, man. This is why I don't do previews, anyway. Because there's nothing to talk
we've done
about.
all of 5 minutes on this preview.
Usually there is, David. It's just that this is not the juiciest card in the world, you know?
Yeah, go watch our other stuff, like the Frankie.
Quickly on next week's card, third fight of the night is going to be Tyson Nam, who just joined the UFC. So that should show you.
I pulled up the card on Google, and all I'm seeing is Michelle Watterson and then Billy Quarantillo versus Kyle Nelson.
I'm really excited for that fight, though. I will say.
I don't even see that one on there.
Like I like, because the reason why is Kyle's, like, you know, if you ever in this Muskoka, Nipissing area, Kyle's like their hero. Like, a lot of these guys love Kyle Nelson, and Billy Q is a guy I've been following for a long time. I think he's really good on his back and has got a great gas tank. So, like,
Kyle Nelson fought my coach, by the way.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Him and Nealon fought. Yeah.
Big robbery. I'm just gonna say. Oh, okay. So real quick, a couple of. Oh man, I was gonna say.
Why are we previewing next week's card this week?
I was just gonna say real quick. A bunch of fights fell out from this card, so I'm like, maybe it was exciting to begin with, but they're all crap. All the ones that fell, with the exception of Ricky Simone versus Brian Kelleher, which would have been exciting.
Yeah. I see Macy Chiasson, who I think won the last Ultimate Fighter, or at least a couple of Ultimate Fighters ago, versus Jaro Eubanks.
People still watch The Ultimate Fighter?
Is it not Chase Young?
Pardon?
Is it not pronounced Macy Chase Young?
I don't know, man. How does the other guy pronounce it? Michael Chiasson.
Did you say Michael Chiasson?
Chiesa. Damn. Okay.
Chiesa? No, Chiesa. It means church, okay?
Forgive me.
It means church in Italian. How dare you?
What was the other Italian dude from last week? I think he won.
No, he lost because he got dropped with a head kick in the third round. What's my boy's name? I was watching him with
Alessio Di Chirico.
No, CH is pronounced K in Italian, and C is pronounced Ch. So Alessio Di Chirico.
Okay, that was hilarious.
We are so off the rails.
We're off the rails.
Stefano, threatening children. Come on.
Yeah.
Okay. Guys, subscribe to the podcast, or we will draw and quarter your children. We've done it before. We don't enjoy doing it, mind you, but we'll do it. We will draw and quarter your children. I'm pretty sure that's why we tie your children up to 4 horses and then rip them apart. So.
Whoa.
Unless you want to draw an order is, you just pick the town place and we'll get the horses. It's fine.
Yeah, perfect. Nice big Clydesdales, maybe. Something with a lot of strength.
Thoroughbreds.
Yeah, thoroughbred horses. We don't want some poorly bred horses, poor stock. I mean, yeah, none of that. So guys, we wouldn't mind pulling your children apart limb from limb. If you don't subscribe to this podcast, subscribe, like, share it, tell a friend about it. Every friend that you don't tell about it, we'll draw and quarter them too.
You know what? Even tell, like, you're not friends. That would be cool too. Just like, if you have like a workplace, like a colleague that you hate, and you're just like, hey, have you heard of this podcast? And just like blast it super loud while you're
Call up your boss. Be like, hey, Peter, I know you're an absolute dick, and I know you've been having an affair with the secretary, and doing
call your local MP.
And you've been doing lines of meth off of the off of her
photocopier, like
the photocopier. And I have photographic evidence of it. So you know what, Peter? Here's the deal. You can subscribe to the Leg Kick podcast, make it mandatory watching for everyone in the office, or I'm going to spread the knowledge of your meth and secretary addiction. Okay, Peter, how's that? And by the way, while you're at it, I've been doing a lot of extra work around here that goes unrecognized. So I want to raise. You know what? We're going to unionize.
That is true. I was going to say that the leg kick has been proven to be effective solutions to secretary addictions and for negotiating raises. So yeah, I would definitely follow that plan of action.
Yeah, we're a worker collective here at.
Hilarious. All right.
The ardent capitalist Michael Asiffo over here is dying inside. By the way, if you're wondering where Jeremy is, there was a terrible accident on the weekend. Jeremy, who's actually on weekends he actually works as a lumberjack. He was chopping down a big redwood. What redwood came crashing down to the ground, fell upon a nest of hornets, right? Of killer hornets. They chased Jeremy. Jeremy ran into a creek to hide from the hornets. Hid out there for a couple of hours until they were gone. Once he got out, he popped his head, and then he noticed a grizzly bear at the end of the river.
People are gonna take you seriously sometimes. I think
hilarious, yeah, and also there's power in the tongue. Watch what you're wishing. Okay, quickly, has anybody been paying attention to the grizzly bear attacks?
Grizzly bear attacks. What's this?
Okay, guys,
people are getting attacked in BC by grizzly bears. Okay, fine.
Yeah, stop logging then, damn it. Stay out of their territory. Leave my grizzly boys alone. Okay?
Oh my lord.
Okay, we're a little off topic. Before Michael has an aneurysm.
The only time you should want to meet a grizzly is if you're on Growler. All right.
What's that gay matching app? What is this, like Tinder for
Grindr, but there's actually one called Growler, which is for gay guys who are looking for bears. Bears being like a hairy gay guy.
More specific. My bad. Michael, take it.
Check your privilege, David.
Right.
Yeah, really.
This straight privilege.
Right.
I love when white people tell me to check my privilege. I love it.
Hey, man, you're Scottish, okay?
We're not doing this.
Okay, Mike.
Episode number whatever of the leg kick, Mike. We broke Mike.
Finally.
Mike is broken.
So much for his shirt saying "fun guy." Clearly not.
Mike is going to show up to the next episode of the podcast in a straitjacket, slobbering on himself, just like.